Looking to pick up your very own custom sleeves? Well, look no further. Go to yourplaymat.com where you can choose to have your very own image on the back of sleeves, or you can choose from their amazing range of pre-designed artwork ready and waiting for you. Get them shipped directly to your door and use the affiliate link and discount code down below to get 10% off. What are you waiting for? Go and grab your custom sleeves from yourplaymat.com. What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr War Games, and today I'm going to bring you a very spicy Dark Magician Doll build. Now, it's a combination I've been looking at for a long time, and it wasn't until Joe kind of mentioned this combo that involved Dolls and fossils that I was kind of like, alright, that's actually a good idea. And then he mentioned Dark Magicians with it, and I thought, you know what, let's give it a try. I've put this build together, and what this build actually does is it's got a nice little root that gives you very powerful OTK potential, but it also gives you a very nice stun backup following off of your Dragoon as well. So this can be played without Verte Anaconda, so I'm also going to show you the future aspects of this particular deck as well. And I will show you a combo at the end to how you get a maximum board and a minimum board from the starting cards. With all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you do not miss out on any more upcoming content from the channel, especially with Lightning Overdrive coming out next week and our return to locals this weekend. Also, dropping on Friday, you will be able to get your exclusive Venom Battle Gear Zephyr War Games mat designed by Spallo Tattoos with Obelisk, Ra and Slifer, all in time, ready for the decks when they drop next month. So, with all of that out of the way, let's dive headfirst into the profile. So the Dark Magician side of it, you are going to be playing triple Dark Magician, no surprise on that. And you're going to be playing your triple Magician's Rod. Now, obviously, Magician's Rod is part of the combo. It is the only normal summon of the deck that you want to be just going, okay, normal summon, do an effect rather than using tributes. It is your best utility card. It gets you everything you need. It gets you into your Soul Servant. It gets you into your Dark Magical Circle, which is also very important with a good old-fashioned tech that I've put back into the deck. We've then got Triple Magician Souls. Now, if you can't afford Souls, you can still play this exact same build with just a confix. Obviously, Souls is a little bit better because it does let you get dead spells and traps out of your hand. It also sets up by putting a Dark Magician to the grave or to the field. But ultimately, throughout this combo, all you're really wanting to use it for is that ability as a free extender to the board. And the Foolish Barrel of a Dark Magician is an additional bonus should you want to go that bit further in the combo. And again, you'll see that when we get there. We've got the One Apprentice. It can be cut if you want to, but again, the idea behind Apprentice is it's a nice free extender. It's the ability to gain a Dark Magician to the hand. Not that that's massively important, but it's more so the fact that it's a free extender. It discards a card, sets up your graveyard, and then puts a body on the board. Also, keep in mind that it can protect any of your spellcasters from attacks by boosting it by 2k. So even if they attack some of your Shadow monsters, you go absolutely fine, drop Apprentice from the hand or Apprentice from the field, boost it by 2k. The final honorary Dark Magician card right now is, of course, Red Eyes Black Dragon, because you do want to use Red Eyes Fusion to get into your Dragoon, but through this particular build and this particular combo, if you wanted to, you could go a completely different route and actually use Magical Eyes Fusion rather than Red Eyes Fusion should anything else happen to that card. Onto the Shadow monsters. Now, the Shadow monsters, the minimum package you can play is 3 Shadow monsters. I'm actually going to be playing 4, and I'm going to explain each one as I go. So, we're playing the one Wendy. Now, the one Wendy, obviously the idea behind this is you do want to be sending all these Shadows from the deck. The only time you ever want one in the hand is by searching the monster off of Hedgehog. And then that sets up your negate with your Shekanaga. But the idea behind Wendy is, of course, by sending her, you get a free extender. That can then help replace a Magician's Souls or a Magician's Rod, because you need technically 2 to 3. You ideally want to get 3 additional monsters on the board so you don't use Shekanaga. But if you've already used Shekanaga's negate effect early on, then of course you can use that as fodder as well. We've then got the Hog. So like I said, the ideal combo with this is you send Hog, search out either a Wendy for a free extender, Genius for a free negate, or Beast for a draw. And I'll quickly go over them now. So the idea is that the first thing you want to make is Shekanaga, and by Shekanaga you're going to be sending your Weathering Soldier plus your Hedgehog. But you do also have the ability of making a 2 negate Apkaline, and what I mean by that is you use, like, for example, if you want to use Beast and Genius, or Wendy and Genius, or Hog and Genius, anything like that. As long as you set up your Apkaline, Apkaline will negate a card, and then of course Genius will do that as well, so that's how you get a double negate. But the idea is that you want to be sending Hog plus Soldier. Hog will then get you Beast or Genius, or of course Wendy, whichever one you think is going to be more utilised to you once you activate Shekanaga's effect. Keep in mind, if you don't use Shekinaga's effect, then it's obviously you're not going to be able to get these out of the hand, but you want to be holding them as a free protection so that all of the rest of your plays, like your Magician's Souls, your Magician's Rod, all of that go off uninterrupted. Then, of course, your Weathering Soldier, the reason you send this is it then lets you add a Fossil Fusion, and what that allows the deck to do is it gives them another boss fusion monster, whether it be banishing from your opponent's graveyard or banishing from your graveyard, which you set up very easily. Your total end board is usually, aggression-wise, is going for a Shekinaga plus a Skull King plus a access code, and the access code will have 3 pops, and of course will also have an additional 3k attack, so that's very nice and utilised. On the weaker side, or the more defensive side, what you basically tag out is you tag out your access code for a Verte into Dragoon with a Rusty Bardiche, if you put the Bardiche in here. At current, we are not playing the Bardiche engine. No particular reason for that. I've just kind of gone, this is all out aggression going second, but I'll show you the cards you can kind of tag in and out, because all you need to do to tag in them, tag those cards in and out is a Boots, Cloak, and 1 Fog Blade and a Shade Brigandine, just to kind of get you everything you need from that moment on. Then for the final monster lineup, of course, we've got the 1 Obelisk the Tormentor. Spoiler, this is coming off of my good old-fashioned tech of the True Name, and the True Name is actually really important in the combo, because what that then allows you to do, or what that then allows you to utilize, is it does then get you not only a free monster on the board, but it allows you to add your Magician's Souls, which again gives you another free monster on the board. And then off of the back of that, you've also, if you just open up the True Name at any point with a Circle, Rod, or Soul Servant, you have the ability to add any card that you have stacked on the top of the deck from your deck to your hand. So if you've only put in, for example, if you were to put like a Shaddoll Fusion onto the top of the deck with it, perfectly fine, because then you can add that by, so you stack your Dark Magical Circle, add the card you want to if you've revealed one, then make sure you stack the deck correctly, activate the True Name, that will then let you add the top card of your deck, which will be what you've predeterminedly set up. The other hand traps we've got triple, gamma, and the single driver. I'm going to move these over a little bit. So obviously the idea behind this is you're playing Circle, Servant, and of course Shaddoll Fusion that you can all play without a monster on the board that you do ideally want to protect. You could also try and drop a Red Eyes Fusion, and you could also drop like a Fossil Fusion, Magical Eye Fusion, all in your later game states. So this kind of turned out to be the best defensive and aggressive hand trap. And the last 2 cards, I've gone with Double Ghost Ogre, purely because they're light, so they actually help if you want to go into Construct. But if you don't want to play these at all, these can be any hand traps you want. They can be Dark Ruler No Mores to make your board breaking more consistent, but obviously you'll lose the OTK. You don't really want to go for Droplets because the combo is very, very specific with what you need in hand. So you don't really want to, you're only going to end up, if you go second and you don't use any hand traps, you're only going to have 2 cards you can send off for Droplets. So something like a Dark Ruler No More will be a little bit better for you. But the idea, even when you activate your Dark Ruler No More, the idea is that with your stuff like the Skull King, the Access Code, and even your Shekinaga, you're definitely 100% clearing your opponent's monster board off. And then off of the back of that, you then have the ability to link those off, go into a Verte Dragoon or a Verte Winder, anything like that, and you've then protected your board going forward as well. So you've broken it, and if you can't guarantee the OTK, you're then able to set up protection as well. So that's it for the monster lineup, and you can see it's a very fair balance between Dark Magician cards and Shaddoll cards. Well, less so the monsters themselves, but you can see that it's got predominantly Dark Magician cards, and then everything else is a backup. Moving into the spells, of course, we've got triple Shaddoll Fusion. This is pivotal. So this card on its own gets you a Shekinaga and gets you a Skull King, because that pretty much sets up the entire chain reaction of setting that up. So it sets you up a Shekinaga with a negate, because you'll send Hog and Weathering Soldier to then protect anything you need. And then, of course, the Weathering Soldier gets you the Fossil Fusion, so that you can kind of build your board around that. And that's where Obelisk the Tormentor comes in, because Obelisk can then end up going to the grave, and he's going to be a level 7 or higher, which gives you the Skull King. I've actually bumped the True Name up to 3 because, again, the True Name is actually incredibly important in the combo. So out of the combos, this is what you ideally want to open up, is you want the Shaddoll Fusion, your True Name, and then either a Soul Servant will be your ideal card, because this will guarantee you the souls. If not, you're going with Circles just so you can revolve the True Name. Keeping in mind that Circle and Soul Servant can, of course, be Magician's Rod as well. So the idea behind this is Shaddoll Fusion gives you the protection route. With the True Name, it gives you the extension route to get into your access code for your OTK play, and the Soul Servant is the one that lets you stack your deck. And then keep in mind as well, the Soul Servant will also be a nice little +1, and if you end up ditching Beast off of Shaddoll Fusion or off of Shekinaga's protection effect, you're then going to get an additional draw card as well. The only other thing that you would arguably put with this lineup is you could play something like, I would arguably go with Pot of Prosperity over Extravagance, because you want to control the extra deck a little bit more. You could put Allure of Darkness in here if you wanted to as well. The whole idea of this is, even without the true name, if you were to replace the true name, you want a draw spell. So this can be any draw spell you want. So if you put Allures in the deck, if you do anything like that, because the idea is you just want to make sure that you're able to draw what you stack onto the top of the deck. That's the idea. Now, obviously, this will give you the free extender by giving you Obelisk, but of course, if you don't get the extender or you don't have this, again, that's fine. That's when you start relying on Wendy, or where you can start relying on Cross Sheep as well. So you do have a lot of variations and a lot of options, which is what makes this such a fun, cool, and powerful deck as well. We've then got Triple Dark Magical Circle, of course, bread and butter of a Dark Magician deck. And then for the fusion spells, we've got the 1 Searchable Secrets of Dark Magic, the 1 Magicalized Fusion, actually really important. Because what you can do, as I explained with the Dark Rule and No More kind of play, is you can build your entire board, and then once you've done that, you can keep Shekhanaga on the board as a negate if you've got the card in hand. And then even if you decided not to go with Access Code and you went with something else, your Access Code could become a Appaloosa, or you could try and make it an IP Masquerena and hold back a little bit. Because then the idea is that you make a Verte, and then even if you don't go for the route of making Red Eyes Fusion into Dragoon, what you can then do is you can use Magicalized Fusion, and by that point you're going to have a Shaddoll card in the graveyard alongside at least a Dark Monster. So that gives you a window as well. Then of course you got a Fossil Fusion. This is only going to get you the 1 target, but if you want to put in the Skull Knight you can, but Skull King is the Mac Daddy of it. And then of course Red Eyes Fusion, until it gets banned, until something of that engine gets banned, it's still too powerful not to run, and you'd be foolish not to run it if you have it. The final 2 cards are Double Eternal Souls. Again, there's not really a replacement for the Soul Servant. That would probably be where your draw card comes into the place if you're looking for a more budget option. But everything else lined up here is relatively cheap. Like Shaddoll Fusions have had 3 prints. The True Names have had 2 prints, and they're sitting at like £2 each. The only thing that hits double digits is of course the Soul Servants. And then from the monster lineup, there's not really anything that hits massive double digits. Your Genesis is probably like £8 at the most. Wendy's like 4 or 5. The Souls is of course is the highest one, but like I said, you can substitute those for your Jester Configs. So that gives you another budget option to play around with it. Moving on to the extra deck, again there are some variations I will show you as well. But from the extra deck, of course, starting off with the fusions, Dragoon, it's too strong. Like, the only thing that makes Dragoon a bad card is the fact that it can be splashed in other decks. If this was exclusively made in Dark Magician, there wouldn't be much of an issue about it. It would just give the deck a hell of a lot of advantage. The Dark Magicians, of course, draw cards, and keep in mind as well, it only requires you to have 1 Spellcaster monster. So it's Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl plus a Spellcaster. So that's where your Shaddolls come in, because that's where you can fuse with your Shekhanaga, with your Winder, with your Wendy, your Beast, any of your Shaddoll monsters in the hand. They're all Spellcasters. That will then allow you to get into the Dark Magicians, trigger off the effects of the Shaddoll monsters that you've sent, and you've got into a Dark Magician to get additional draws later on down the line. Dragon Knight. Now, again, not only can you banish your Red Eyes from the graveyard with Magicalized Fusion to make this guy, it's less relevant in this particular build because we don't have a lot of spells and traps we actually want to protect. So this is one of the flex spots in the extra deck, but it's such a core card for my opinion, like for Dark Magician to the heart, that I've always played it. For the Shadolls, Apkaline sets up a double negate. Not only that, but it can give you that if it's sent, add 1, ditch 1. But the double negate, like I said, is you make this with 2 Shaddoll monsters with different attributes. You're playing 2 Darks, 1 Wind, and an Earth. So the idea is that you send Genius, you can send Hog, or you can send Beast. You get a draw off of Beast, and you can chain block as well, keep that in mind. So you can go Apkaline 1, you can go Genesis 2, and then you can go Beast 3. So if you're not worried about the draw, your opponent can only ash the draw, your Genesis negates, and then your Apkaline negates as well, and then you're good to pretty much run wild. The 1 Winder, of course, lockdown until this gets banned. Don't think it really should. I think there's too many outs to it, but still very, very good. This is your defensive option on the board as well. So like I said, even if you make Shekhanaga with your Shaddoll Fusion go in first, yes, it will burn through some of your resource, but ultimately you can still get to a Winder by sending a Magicalized Fusion off of the back of Verte Anaconda. Construct, you're probably going to play this the least of all of them. So this is another flex spot. So you've already got 2 flex spots you can kind of take out and play around with. Shekhanaga, most important in the combo, sets you up protection from like Nibiru, hand traps, anything like that, setting your place further forward so that everything else like your True Name, your Circle, your Soul Servant, your Rod, and Souls will go off consistently, building you all the way to your access code, and your access code and go, right, okay, now's my time to just pick the board apart and go from there. The The final fusion, of course, is the Warrior Skull King. So this card gets to have 2 attacks during each battle phase, and they don't have to be on monsters. It does piercing battle damage, and during your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can discard a card to special summon 1 monster your opponent's graveyard to your field. So again, gives you a bit of an extension. For the links, working backwards, your access code is your all and out aggressor. You've got the BLS Soldier of Chaos. Now, budget option, this can be any link monster that I'll show you in a minute, which will be the alternative options. But again, this is another boss monster. If you can't get to access code, you can go to BLS, but 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to be getting into access code without worry, because you're going to be playing Selene. Now, Selene requires 2 monsters, including the Spellcaster monster. Again, all the Shadolls are spellcasters. So if you've already used Shekanaga and you're not going to want it and you want to get into your access code, you can use Shekanaga to go into your Selene. You can then get back the Shadoll Fusion. And keep in mind, throughout the combo, you would ultimately have a Fossil Fusion, Shadoll Fusion, and possibly a Circle, Soul Servant, or a True Name in the graveyard. So you're always going to have enough tokens for her. Verte is Verte. Artemis is another flex point. It's just another way of turning your spellcaster into a link monster. So it's more successful because obviously it can turn Rod or Souls or even Jester Conflict. But that's where stuff like Link Karibo comes in as well, because Link Karibo can then be used, and it is a dark attribute, which is why we do play the Relinquish Anima, because the Relinquish Anima can then be used as a aggressive Link 1 off of the Souls. And by doing that, not only do you set up a dark if you wanted to go for the Bardiche route, but you also put a dark in the graveyard so that when you make access code, by the time you've done it and done the climb, you're going to have a dark, a light, and a wind coming off of Umduct. Because obviously Umduct, you go Selene, bring back the Dark Magician that Souls have sent to the graveyard, turn it into Umduct. Umduct plus Selene goes into Access Code. Access Code gains 3k, making it a 53 base. Put in a wind, light, and dark in the graveyard because you would have turned Souls into Anima. And Anima's a spellcaster as well, so that works out a nice synergy. And then the idea is you're just going to banish from the graveyard, give you your Fossil King. Your Access Code is going to be able to pop 3 cards, and then you've still got 2 attacks on the Skull King. So technically, your opponent can eat up 4 card effects or 4 pop effects, and as soon as you've done that, you've then got game just with these 2, and that's before you even consider Shekanaga still staying on the board or any extender you've made with Wendy. So that's it for the extra deck lineup. I'm now going to show you the alternatives that can fit within the flex spots and why they work so well. So for the flex spots, what you do have is you've got your Psyframe Lord Lambda, just to make sure your Gamma is always going to be consistently live. And because you're easily able to make Link 2s, you can also put IP Masquerena in here. And the best thing about IP Masquerena is off of the back of Skull King, because you're bringing back one of your opponent's monsters, it does give you another material to then go into something like an Appaloosa or an Underworld Goddess. The other one is Cross Sheep. The only reason we don't really want to rely on Cross Sheep is it does mean you need to go Rod and Extender, make Cross Sheep, then make your Shekanaga to then bring one back from the graveyard. So it does then give you the Extender, because then straight away you can just... what you kind of do is you take out either Souls or you take out the True Name from the equation, because then the idea behind this is that by making Cross Sheep and then Shekanaga, you bring back one of the Shadoll cards, which will be a Spellcaster, link those into Selene, and then straight away that's your access code route. Also putting an Earth in the graveyard, so it gives you another attribute to help you climb up. So it does allow you to kind of provide alternatives to complete the combo successfully. Phantom Knight's Rusty Bardiche, like I said, this is the defensive option. All you need to do is find 4 spaces in the main deck that you want to side out. So whether that be 2 Ghost Ogres, whether that be the entire Gamma package, whether you want to cut down the True Name one, or if you want to cut down the Shadoll Fusion down to 2 because you're going first rather than going second, that's where your spare cards can come in. You can still run the exact same combo. So the minimum combo that will still get you Bardiche is Rod or Soul Servant, ideally Rod, plus the True Name. Gets you a Bardiche with Fog Blade, and a Verte, and a Dragoon as well. So still got a lot to play with that one. And then the final one is any rank 7. So Big Eye, Red Ice Flare, Metal, just to burn the games out and finish the games off. Should you need to, but ultimately with this aggressive build, you won't need to do that. So that is it for the profile. I'm now going to reset the board state, and I'm going to show you a very, very cool, simple combo to get you going for this particular build. Okay, so the 3-card combo. Now, I know you're going to be like, what? 3 cards? But keep in mind that these 3 cards can be variations, or at least one of them could be a variation of stuff. And then even if it isn't a variation of stuff, you can obviously do this with 2-card combo, and I'll show you what each of these engines kind of provides you throughout the combo. So the one that is the most flexible is the Magician's Rod one, because ideally all you're trying to do with these 3 cards is Rod will get you into Soul Servant as your first choice, then Circle as a backup, and then what you're ideally doing is you're stacking the deck with Magician's Souls to activate the True Name. So this is your 2-card combo right here. Your 3-card combo is these here. Now, ultimately what the Shaddoll Fusion does is it sets you up the Shekhanaga protection. That is all that this is doing. Is this is setting up your Shekhanaga protection to let you combo, and then gives you the aggressive ability to make your Fossil King. So that's what Shaddoll Fusion is doing on its own. So if you take that out of the equation, you still have the ability of a Rusty Bardiche, or you still have the ability of an access code with 53 just from these cards here. So the ideal combo starter, just to get everything going, will be the True Name, Magician's Rod, and of course Shaddoll Fusion. Now, straight away, that isn't a huge amount. Like, you can't really look at that and go, oh, that's a very expensive combo to activate and resolve. Well, no, not really. It's a card that came in a structure deck, a card that's like £2, and a card you can probably pick up for like £1 at max as a common. Anyway, so the way this would work is we're going to be going second. That's where you're going to get the most effect out of the Shaddoll Fusion, because it means you don't have to burn the cards in hand. But also keep in mind as well, you'll still have 2 more cards in your hand that you can ultimately mess around with. Now, these could be hand traps, these could be extenders, or actually 3 more cards because you're going second. So this is what the rest of your hand will be. And even if you open up a Shaddoll monster, that's absolutely fine, because then what that means is you don't need to send Hedgehog off of the Fusion. You can actually send anything you want, and then either get your free extender, free draw, or however you see it fit. So you activate the Shaddoll Fusion. Obviously, Shaddoll Fusion is going to do its magic and send from deck to grave your Weathering Soldier. And of course, it will send you your Hedgehog. Now, by doing this, obviously, because you've sent a Dark and a Earth, you are going to be able to summon out your Shekhanaga. Now, this is one of the weak flex points, but like I've said, if your opponent ashes you now, you still have Rod and True Name to go through freely. If you've activated Dark Ruler no more, or you've kaiju'd them, or anything like that, then you don't even need to worry about what they put out on the board. So you summon out Shekhanaga first, we'll put her over to the far left. Shaddoll Fusion goes to the graveyard, Hedgehog's effect goes off, and so does the Soldier. So Hog's effect, you can pretty much add whatever one you want. It doesn't really matter. Because if you're not worrying about negates, then you wouldn't go Genius. If you're doing negates, then you would actually turn Shekhanaga into Apkaline rather than having to... So like if you're worried about their board presence, you'd turn this into Apkaline instead and negate 2. So you probably keep the Genius in the deck. Let's hold on to the Beast. Wendy's a nice little free extender if any of these get flopped or get stopped. But we'll add the Beast just because that nice draw, the blind draw, will be kind of nice later on as well. You're then going to add your Fossil Fusion off, of course, your Weathering Soldier as well. Now what you want to do here is you want to normal summon your Magician's Rod, use the effect here. Now if they want to try and ash you, you can go Beast and get a free draw off of it, entirely up to you. Now the card you want to go for off of your Magician's Rod is specifically your Soul Servant. This one gives you the guarantee of getting your Magician's Souls. So that's why this is more important than the Circle. But if you've already opened up Servant, you can obviously activate Circle and then see if anything is more beneficial bringing off of that, or however you want to do it. So you then activate the Soul Servant. Your Soul Servant would specifically stack your deck with Magician's Souls. So this is the one part of the combo where it kind of hurts you, because you can't guarantee to stack the Magician's Souls. But what you can do, if you've got an additional discard in hand, is you can, if you don't have Souls that is you can stack the Mahad, or you can stack the Apprentice. All you really want to be doing is stacking a card that's going to give you a free summon. So that's basically what you're looking for. So Magician's Soul is now on the top of the deck. Soul Servant is now in the graveyard. Keep in mind you're going to get a draw for that later on as well, if it comes off the back of Souls. You can then activate your True Name. Cool, Magician's Souls. Oh, would you look at that? It's Magician's Souls. So this gets added to your hand, and because you successfully called it, you can choose to summon a god from the deck. So we're going to summon out Obelisk the Tormentor. Now, if you want to be really scummy, keep in mind these are both level 10s. So Gustav Max into Big Train Guy, burn, yeah. So that is an option. I'm not saying do that option, but that is an option. Then what you want to do here is you can activate your Magician's Souls. Now, it doesn't really matter if you summon it or send it and summon out the Dark Magician, because you're pretty much going for spellcasters anyway. You're not limited to effect monsters or anything like that. But we're going to summon it just so that we can show you the full combo by turning it into a Link monster and go from there. So you send the Dark Magician. Perfect. Now, from what you've got here, you would have to turn Obelisk and Magician's Souls into like an IP Masquerena to get the Bardiche combo. But from here, what we're going to do is we're going to turn our Magician's Souls into our Relinquish Animal. If our opponent's got a monster in one of the zones and they foolishly left it open, then we're going to steal it. If they didn't, not an issue. I'm going to bring these down a little bit. Here we go. So you've done this. That's just to put the dark into the graveyard. So then what you want to do here is you want to link all three of those together, keeping in mind that at least one of them is a spellcaster, so you're pretty much good to go. So you go Anima, your Obelisk, and your Rod. And you're going to go into Selene. Over there. Selene's effect will then trigger, and she will bring you back specifically Dark Magician. Obviously, if you've got Circle, you've got a nice free banish there, entirely up to you. And then using Dark Magician, you're going to turn it into Umduct. And what that then does is puts a dragon in the graveyard when you get rid of Umduct. So you go both of these, put these into the graveyard. Just going to bring the access code down. There we go. Access code, gain 3k. Now, obviously, access code is going to have Umduct as a wind, 3k off of Selene, and you relinquish Anima. Keeping in mind as well, the 3 spells that we had in the graveyard were the True Name, Shadow Fusion, and Soul Servant. If you were one short, you activate Fossil Fusion a little bit earlier. It doesn't really matter. As long as Obelisk is in the grave, ideally, that's kind of where you want to go. And that's where you would need to do a Link 2 rather than Anima. Make a Link 2 with the Obelisk if you need to get it into the graveyard because you don't have enough spells for Selene just yet. Keeping in mind, you can now choose to activate your Soul Servant. You could save it for a little bit later on if you want to, but that's only if you're going to get another spellcast to the graveyard. So you're then going to draw a random card, so your hand is still pretty full. Let's say we've activated the Shekinah negate. We're going to replace that with Beast, so you get another draw there. Access code is pretty beefy already. You're going to activate your Fossil Fusion, and by using your Fossil Fusion, you're going to banish a level 7 or higher. You could do Dark Magician, but we're going to get rid of Obelisk because it's less relevant for us, and we're going to get rid of our Weathering Soldier. And that's going to allow us to bring out our Skull King, wherever he is. Fossil King. There we go. So, should your opponent magically be able to survive this, which is 2 attacks, so clearing off 2 monsters there. Keeping in mind as well that I think this is just shy of game. So 50, 60, 70, 79. So these two are 79 together. So ideally what you need is you need these two attacking directly. But keep in mind, this is pop 3. This is at least destroy 1 card and then attack again and do piercing damage. So that might even do enough to build you up so you can attack with these directly. That is game. Now, should your opponent survive, you have a couple of options going further forward. So should your opponent survive this, you now have the ability to go, right, okay, well, I've got 2 cards in my hand. One of them is a Shadow monster, so I'm going to use these 2. I'm going to use my access code and my Fossil King, and we're going to go into, where are you? Verte Anaconda. And then you're going to go, right, okay, Verte Anaconda's effect, send Dark Magician, send Red Eyes Fusion, make yourself a Dark Dragoon. And you've got 2 cards in the hand, one being a Shadow to negate with Shekinah, one being a General negate with Dragoon. Or you go, you know what, I don't really need Dragoon, I don't want to use that discard, I've only got 1 card in hand that's for Shekinah. I'm actually going to decide to go into a Winder by sending Magicalized Fusion. So, again, you could also send Magicalized Fusion to make Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, it just wouldn't have 2 pops, so entirely up to you. Keeping in mind as well, that if you decide to go, you know what, I want to keep the Fossil King because I want to use this effect during my next turn, and I don't have a Shadow card, I'm going to use Shekinah. Shekinah will actually give you the Shadow Fusion back to your hand. So then what you're ultimately doing is your board is either going to be this, or you go with this, and then should your opponent do anything or anything like that, you can then follow up with Shadow Fusion. You still got 2 Shadows left in the deck, and those will then allow you to go into an Apkaline with a double negate, or go into a Construct, which should, following this, almost guarantee you game. And like I said, with the Obelisk, if you know you're not got enough damage on board, you can always make Gustav Max, detach the material, burn for a guaranteed 2k, and then your board would be, you still need to use the Gustav Max as link material, but your board would then be King plus access code, and then all you need to do is 6,000 damage. And that's it. Very short, sweet, well, I say short, sweet and simple. The combo's pretty much laid out for you, and then the profile is laid out as well. If you do have any questions, by all means, put them in the comments down below. Thank you to Joe for kind of giving me the idea of the combo behind this and how it works. I think it works surprisingly well and surprisingly nice. Now, obviously, it's a bit more ideal going second than first because that's where Shadow Fusion gets the most out of it. But it's still an incredibly fun deck, an incredibly nice angle to be playing with the deck as well. Like I said, Dark Magician is my favourite deck. I'm more than open to trying different variants, trying different versions, and just playing around to kind of give you guys either something fun to take to locals with, or something that no one will actually expect that will kick ass. Keep in mind, we've ended up doing stuff like Numerons, we've done Rainbow, we've also ended up doing stuff like the True Name as an original tech as well. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. If you do have any questions whatsoever, put them in the comments below. But other than that, stay safe, guys, and of course, happy dueling. Looking to pick up your very own custom sleeves? Well, look no further. Go to yourplaymat.com where you can choose to have your very own image on the back of sleeves, or you can choose from their amazing range of pre-designed artwork ready and waiting for you. Get them shipped directly to your door and use the affiliate link and discount code down below to get 10% off. What are you waiting for? Go and grab your custom sleeves from yourplaymat.com.